Hi everyone. On this episode, I'm meeting with Ike Bodner from the SandBox, um, an early stage platform helping entrepreneurs start their ventures and get into defense tech with the right partners, the right support, and the right advisory in order to be those next companies that are saving lives and changing the battlefield in Israel and abroad. Welcome to the autonomous age, where drones map our cities, robots save lives, and underwater vehicles scan the ocean floor. I'm Shay Senior, and this podcast is your front row seat to the real stories behind the machines shaping our future and the people behind them, from the engineers and researchers to the entrepreneurs and investors. So excited to be here this morning, episode number 9. Ike Bodner from, I will not say where from. You have so many froms in your life. Very excited to have you here today, to have this conversation, to hear more about your story.
Mm-hmm.
We've met when I was in the States and you were in Israel, but obviously you're the American and I'm the Israeli. So
Yeah.
I wanted, when I'm back, to bring you into our studio and
It's beautiful.
to listen to your story, what brought you to do what you're doing. Obviously, we're going to talk about defense, drones, and everything that this podcast talks about. So excited to have you here today.
Thanks for having me here, man. It's beautiful. It's a good time. We were just talking about the drone schools up north, schools in the south.
Right.
I think, and you were also talking about the need for proper team and not just operators. You need instructors, right? I think that kind of mindset is hopefully where we shift to in the coming year. I think that the strategy for this year has to be kind of organizing some of this stuff where there's duplicates and multiples. It wouldn't be so far-fetched to see if that team comes down to Mitkan Adam. You combine forces. I think both are really strong programs.
It's now that I'm thinking about it, it's more than instructors. It's who are the teachers in this industry. Like, we can see a lot of people came in from very different backgrounds than defense. It's actually right now not only people that are engineers from the Technion leading the defense tech industry in Israel, but more gaming background, I would say, marketing in some big companies. Medical.
Tons of people are turning to the field. Look, I think people are answering the call. But like, if you ask what anyone's doing in this field, you say defense, HLS, security, mission critical. Everyone, I think, has noticed something that's extremely painful and said, "I want to solve that." That is like the group of people that's been generated since October 7th.
Yeah, I feel that the difference between here, like, I'm listening a lot to young entrepreneurs in defense in the States. So in the US, kind of like it never existed. You didn't have a threat for your life.
Yeah.
And in Israel, we're
out of sight, out of mind.
Like yesterday, I talked with a friend that since we were kids, when we would go on a bus, actually what we do is search for someone that's wearing a coat.
100%.
In summer. And I'm like, That's
off.
That's our reality.
A bus blew up at the Tachana Makazit in the central bus station of Jerusalem. I was a kid, and I was supposed to go home from school, and a buddy of mine, on a bus like that, and I wouldn't have gone off at that stop. I would have gone off Ben Yehuda 3 or 4 stops earlier.
Wow.
But a buddy of mine called me and said, "Hey man, wait for me for the next bus." Waited for him. And I'm pretty certain, fairly certain, 98%, that bus that I was on that got off was because of him. And that's like our childhood growing up. And I was fine. I moved on with my day. I was like, oh, that's a crazy coincidence. I grew up. I thought about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, every bit of life, every little sliver of it here it's kind of corroded with those experiences that people don't understand, but it also leads to what we're doing now.
Yeah, so we were talking about it in the episode, I think of episode 7, we were talking about being crazy for the thing. Itai Norian from Insignito, he was mentioning that he's looking for people that are geeks and are freak about what
Yeah.
they're doing. And then I said, in Israel, if you're not crazy, you're not normal.
Yeah.
I mean, you share about your daily stories with people anywhere else in the world, they would say, like, I'm not going to grow my kids here.
No, 100%.
But then we see that so many things actually grow out of that. We're not focusing on, oh, how crazy it is. I will lock myself in my house, and the opposite. People here go to the extreme with entrepreneurship. People here come with great ideas. I mean, it's once and every time that we can see it on the global lists of who are the physics experts and who are the technological leading teams. Everywhere there's some connection to a product born in Israel. I feel that also in the last 2 years, there are a lot of memes joking about it, that people said, okay, let's ban Starbucks or McDonald's because of them supporting Israel.
Yeah.
But then, there's so many things in your life living abroad that were designed, developed, or managed by Israeli expertise, engineers, entrepreneurs, that you basically have to stop and start your life again if you don't want to use anything from Israel.
We'll just look at, that's a good point, to like the two different cultures going on right now that you can compare those between. And it's like, well, one is a hyper curious, hyper educated, high EQ environment, Israel, right? A lot of caring people, a lot of actual diversity, a lot of just growth, interaction, and just experience to be had here. True melting pot. Right? True stories, true people, and enough time to actually experience them on a street. You go sit on a cafe in Tel Aviv or Jerusalem, you can meet some interesting people, sit down and talk to them, and really have these kind of conversations. If you go to, I don't know, San Francisco, and you start arguing that Israel is the biggest enemy to you and other people's, not even you, because that's the thing, you have to be altruistic, right? So whoever you care about at that moment, right? And whoever is their enemy, win or lose, they're being oppressed, and you have to be there for them. And yet that culture can't rely on itself because it doesn't build for itself, because it doesn't build a lot, right? They're not hyper curious. They want to talk. They're not high EQ. They're just feeling something, and they're getting it out, and they have to grow through that. But if you just look at the culture here, you meet a 23-year-old here, compare it to a 23-year-old from there. I mean, it's so different. The curiosity, the interest that they have, the discipline, the ability to go through hard things, including college, including school, and learn all this stuff. I mean, it's just different.
So you mentioned growing up in Jerusalem, but your English is obviously American.
Yes, sir.
When did you move to the States?
When did I move to the States? Well, I was born in the States. I was born in New York, in Queens. But I moved to London when I was 2 years old, spent 5 years there. I had a British accent in school and a New York accent at home, apparently, for the first 2 years, just to fit in. I didn't realize I was doing it, but subconsciously, my teachers and my parents quickly had a conversation and sorted that out.
Happened to me with the Australian accent growing up in Papua New Guinea, and one day I told the tutor, "Don't come anymore. I don't want to speak English. I don't want to have an Australian accent.
Not for me.
No one here is speaking English, and I have an accent already." That's my comeback to Israel.
That's so funny. Oh man. So New York, London. Then moved back to New York, to Long Island for 4 years. 2009, made my way to Israel. I mean, my family made the way. Landed in Jerusalem. We were supposed to move to Ra'anana. And then 3 weeks before, we were moving with another family. My mom goes, "Hey, I'm so sorry, but we're going to move to Yerushalayim." I for some reason, just had a feeling.
There was no democratic choice.
No, Mom said.
There was no GPT back then.
There was none of it.
What's the pros and cons of Ra'anana? There was
none of it. There was feeling, intuition.
Yeah.
I feel like we may have lost that a little bit along the way recently, but intuition. My mom had it, and I think she was right. She listened to it. We'd done a year of planning to go to Ra'anana. I was signing for schools, banks, everything. Oh. I'm 11 years old, so I'm not dealing with the bank, but a friend of hers just found us an apartment. Beautiful place, really amazing. Great place to grow up on the top of a mountain, looking over Jerusalem. It was amazing. In Katamon, right by the San Simon Park, is actually an interesting historic battle there. that was had the founding of the state of Israel. So grew up in that and spent a decade there. Went to the army there. Went, obviously high school. Got married while living there, and then I made my way to Tel Aviv now. But yeah, Jerusalem is imprinted on me like nothing else, I think. Yeah.
So you talked about the army. Can you share a little bit? Where did you serve?
Yeah.
What did you do? Because I think that leads us up to what you're doing today.
Well, I mean, anything, yeah, leads us, takes us off. Yeah, so I was very lucky. I was very lucky. I went to the Air Force Technical Academy in Haifa, and I ended up becoming a propulsion technician. Then I was, after some training on the F-16s, moved to the F-35 platforms. So I was on Nevatim Air Base and spent my entire service there.
It's like the very early stage of the F-35.
It was the second round of the program. Yeah. So the first propulsion technicians didn't even get to work on, if I understand correctly, anything, because we didn't have any of the platforms yet. They just trained. Yeah. So we were, I think, the first operational team. There was a lot of learning. I think the experience of hardware and that environment, as it was growing, and itself was very entrepreneurial for the base, the program, I think the country as well, but we were solving problems as we went. I mean, I've met some amazing people along the way who really built that program, both on the Pentagon side, Lockheed side, Pratt & Whitney side, the Joint Strike Fighting Team. There's just so many thousands of people went into making this thing. And even till recently, it's still in some development, some testing, but I mean, it's so solid. And you saw that, with the 12-day war with Iran, how solid that is. I mean, come on. That, we talk about things in defense taking a decade. It'll take 10 years to implement this, right? Which is crazy in some people's eyes. But these are game changers. These are things that allow you to have freedom, true freedom.
It's not just hardware product that moves people or missiles from one place to another. It's actually a whole...
It's the system.
It's
the 18-year-old loading the bomb. Yeah. It's the 45-year-old, squadron commander or crew chief, right? It's the 23-year-old pilot, by the way. A 23-year-old kid who plays volleyball on the beach in Tel Aviv, grew up in a little, moshav or kibbutz, can grow up to be an F-35 pilot in this country.
Goes on a plane...
Flies, comes back, has dinner with his girlfriend, is a sweet guy, goes to the gym, hangs out with the technicians. Regular people. It was so cool. The best part was the gym. The gym on base, man. Yeah. You would go in there. Black Hawk helicopter pilot. She's deadlifting, with me, just crushing it. F-35 pilot. Dude's jacked, enormous. Dude's just running marathons every night. And with a squad on base, very cool. It was a community. It was a life that you lived with thousands of other people on base. You ate with every day. You slept with every day, and you got to know everybody. And you could solve problems real interestingly when you knew everybody. That was so cool about the culture. If I didn't know people in every different department, I couldn't solve problems. But the fact that I had a phone call and a relationship with everybody that I needed to have on a day-to-day basis made things work. And that culture on base changed everything. Every money that they invested into that was worth it, I think, every bit.
Interesting. And you think that, so the U.S. Army is more technical, I'd say people go for it as a job. Here you did something that is a very professional work, but you're still mentioning the personal layer and the connection to the individuals. So you worked with people from the U.S. Army. Did you feel that the differences on how do you come to work, or?
I felt they were. I mean, listen, we had such great experiences with the different forces that came. The level of professionalism and the ability to execute on their side is phenomenal. I think it's second to none. It's scary how good they are. They need to unload a C5 for a month or a day. They'll take it out. They'll deploy instantly. They'll have a gym set up. They'll have a cafe set up. They'll have whatever they need set up. It's a new city that's deployed somewhere. They'll wrap up tomorrow. You won't even notice them. Phenomenal. And they'll come and they'll solve problems like that. And especially, I mean, you talk about not just the military side of things, but the contractor side of things, the partners involved, the startups that came through, extremely professional, extremely diligent, ready to work the night shift to get you your answer, just your answer. You know, hey, I've got a crack here. This is the data I've got. I need you to analyze it. You know, there's no rush in some sense, but you're always trying to beat the clock to improve, to get better. You know, so that engineer is coming to me. He's got, by the way, got a 3-hour drive home to Herzliya. That's where he lives. You know, his wife and kids are there, and he drives back down every morning base at 4 a.m. and he's got the answer every morning. That's efficient. That's an incredible process.
Dedication. The dedication to the job. I really love that type of professionalism. You know, we're in the era of AI that some conversations takes us to that place of, oh, now one man would be able to do 30 different things. We don't need any more of these guys and these guys and these guys. And you're just thinking about it. I mean, there's so much personal layer into things for something to function on a timeline and also on a process line of a product. It's about you stay later for the people that you're working with. You stay in the company and you want to come to the office because of the impact of what you're doing is on humanity, nature, whatever. And that AI thing, I mean, it might get better and it would be super helpful in different types of activities that we'll be doing, because as we saw some examples of companies that are taking it in order to simplify process, and then those professional humans could be even more professional on the hard things, taking off the daily activities that they spend time on and they shouldn't, and they could focus more on where accidents could occur. So I'm going fast forward. 2023, you've been already in Israel?
Yeah.
So you're living here, married?
Living here, married, working in Yavne and the south.
Aeronautics?
Aeronautics, subsidiary of Rafael. Yeah.
And October 7 begins. Where have you been that Saturday morning?
Tel Aviv. I had a whole regular day planned. Saturdays I play baseball in the park. Good group of guys. It's fun. That was my plan. Wake up in the morning, walk my... I didn't even have a dog yet. I got the dog as a result. A little spoiler. But I was gonna wake up, I guess work out that time, hang out with my wife, have lunch. She was gonna study. I was gonna go to baseball. That was my plan.
And so you were awake already at 6:29?
Yeah. Woke up just before, and then immediately, first siren, got my wife, got my dog. Not really a fear, more like a, why are you guys doing this so early? You know, walked to I think it was funny. We had 3 sirens that morning in Tel Aviv, if I remember correctly. The first 3 at least. And we first just really went into the hallway, the stairs, you know. There's a bomb shelter in the basement, old building. But weren't really concerned. Everyone kind of said good morning to each other, 10 seconds, and was like, we're going to go back to sleep. Wake up. The next one, oh, wow, they're really, okay, fine. Hi, good morning, good morning. Does anybody want coffee, whatever? Go back inside, go to sleep. Third one, we all go down to the bomb shelter. We open it up, we move things out, we turn the lights on. Hasn't been touched in a while. Okay, but we're just there. We'll go turn on the news when we get back into the house.
And there were no message, like no one was on Telegram.
I wasn't on
getting
Telegram.
Pushes from N12.
I wasn't on it. I was disconnected. I didn't have social media. Like I think I had accounts open when I was younger, and then okay, I'll open the emergency Hamal. I'll open Telegram. My wife's turning on the news. We don't really even use our TV. It's just sitting there. It's so old. And Telegram was just mind-changing. Yeah.
I feel that's the point where people actually realize what's Telegram.
Yeah.
Like here in Israel, at least.
I don't think you could have gotten that raw, unfiltered information that fast, which is probably what ended up saving so many lives
Yeah.
from other sources. I just don't think you could have. I don't think you could have. If you talk about freedom of movement of information, that was for better or worse, sadly better, that was the most important thing. That's why, by the way, applications like that are priceless. Priceless, the utility of them.
Yeah. I mean, you can measure how bad they can do. You cannot measure how good they can do, and that's the hard side of it to explain, because you won't be able to imagine such an event and how valuable that raw video, whatever content comes up out of it, is for families, for search and rescue individuals. So you're in the bomb shelter, you start realizing that it's not just 3 rockets being shot to Tel Aviv.
So we go upstairs, we turn this stuff on, and I mean, that morning's a bit of a questionable one. I don't remember it too well. We had my sister-in-law over. She was, I think, 15 at the time, maybe just turned 16. And, well, me and my wife, what we first did was we made sure we had our go bags ready, double-checked everything. We made sure she was good as far as, hey, distract a little bit. Maybe we'll go outside today. Let's pack a little bit. Just in case, maybe we'll go on a hike or something. We didn't really tell her what was going on. We were monitoring the situation. I checked what planes were at the Herzliya Airport, the Nevatim Airport, and I thought, okay, well, if we need to retreat, these are the roads and these are the airports. Because I thought, okay, this information's hours old, right? Like the rockets are later. You wouldn't start with the rocket. I mean, you might, but there's something going on here. I don't know how far they've gone. So I did a quick calculation of, if there's free road and they can go about 160 in the D-Maxes, in their little unit. Okay, this is how long it's going to take them to get to Tel Aviv, assuming they had I started doing all the calculations.
You were on the realistic side of your
brain. Hey,
maths.
What's let me assess the situation, the environment. Okay, who do I know? What do I need? My brothers are in Jerusalem. My brother is in yeshiva there. I got to figure him out. By the way, my parents are in the States. Everyone lives there. I'm alone here. Me and my wife. Those are the kids. So I've now got to take full control. Me and my wife have to communicate with basically no words when not necessary. Getting information, communicating properly to my siblings, trying to get a hold of them was very hard for those first few hours. Yeah. Starting to raise the alarm bells in the States. My wife and I have some spots, in the country and abroad that are kind of like our safe zones. Troop points, always kind of had them. And we were just ready. And I just we made sure that we kind of looked at our windows. I know that's so silly and crazy, but with no information, I'm standing not in eyesight of anybody, but we had a good angle. We could see the
park. Your wife is Israeli or American?
She's an American Israeli, but she's the true, combat soldier,
Okay.
This comes from her,
Yeah.
This comes from her. And I guess my grandfather, because he's an interesting character and always been smart about this stuff. He has some interesting stories. He should be on the podcast. But yeah, and then I just stayed there until basically, we had a plan, which was, okay, we see that there's some response going on. Down south, that was midday. Started to get that information and feedback. Only heard about David, I think at around like 4 p.m. I don't remember my texts, but they're there. But I was just already floored, gone, like ghost. I felt like a ghost.
But you were You're describing something that is very realistic, practical. Like you know what you do. You're organizing stuff, a
Yeah.
bag, place to go to and be safe. But then you're saying you've been a ghost in the same sentence. So
Yeah, because there's something you feel kind of like your soul is like covered
managing
in
you,
is what?
your
No, no, no.
your soul is taking
No,
lead,
my
or
soul is shredded. Your soul
okay,
is like completely covered in complete garbage. It's completely eroded in so many ways, and you just go into survival, and you just go into operational, organize.
yeah,
The whole soul part of you, which is a phenomenal part of you, it has no point right now. Like it's not the thing for now. So you actually do kind of, I guess, have a defense mechanism, hopefully, of just kind of putting it away, so it doesn't
yeah,
completely get destroyed. But the things you see then, and I'm not even down south. That's part of what's also killing me is I know someone is down south experiencing this. I know someone videoed this. I'm only getting secondhand trauma, disgust, whatever. So I also think to that day, okay, we're gonna have some serious, psychological issues to deal with. I didn't know how long this was gonna be. I wasn't thinking about that at that time. Probably for a few days, I was just focused on the day of, but started noticing, okay, I'm experiencing this level of trauma right now. This is gonna be insane for us in 2, 5, 7, 10 years, and then, and then just operated until I heard about David, and then called a buddy because I hadn't really gotten confirmation. Just somebody else was curious. Said, we're looking for him. Have you heard from him? Called him. He said he's dead. And that was like October 7th for me. 9:00 at night. That's
what
it
is
was.
David's last name?
David Newman.
David Newman, Zichrono Livracha.
Yeah.
And he was in the Nova party, or
Yeah. He was at the Nova Festival. He borrowed. I called my buddy Bucky. We all went to high school together
yeah,
in Jerusalem. Me, Bucky, David, Moshe, all these guys. And Bucky had gone down south that morning because he had gotten David's, text saying pray for me and his GPS location. And then him, Moshe, and 2 other guys drove down south and tried
with
to...
guns, like what?
2 guns, 2 vests, just pistols, I think. And Bucky drove his sister's 2009 Prius. Not the vehicle for war.
Yeah,
Moshe, who's a TikToker, and a brave idiot, went down, just said, I got to film this stuff. Like, I'm seeing some of this stuff. Like, no one's going to believe this. And so he went down with them.
how far were they able to get?
They got to stay low, I think.
Really?
Got down 232. Cops said, you got to go back. They made a left. They made a right. They kept going. And they actually went, yeah. Moshe was filming all that. The guys were, ready in the back with pistols. Obviously for the first few days, everyone had a plan of, if we're driving in the car and we see something, okay, you duck, you shoot, I'm going to duck, I'm going to drive straight, pedal this. Everyone had a plan,
Yeah.
And so that was their plan to the best of their ability. And they were just trying to get to David. They didn't really understand what was going on. David was in this big, container that they were using as a garbage at the Nova Festival, and him and his girlfriend Noam and 14 other people are in there. They've been there for hours. Noam also filmed much of it through that terror, just because she's incredibly strong and brave and smart. And terrorists came, shot David in the chest, I believe, and threw a grenade into the container, and then also shot in afterwards indiscriminately, obviously. Noam got hit, but thankfully she survived. And that was it. Yeah.
So you were mentioning the disconnection from the soul at some point, but then I can talk at least about myself. At the first moments, I realized, okay, it's something different. As you said, I was living near Lod. I was like, okay, I remember what happened in Shuvu Achim. I need to get ready for what's near me.
Mm-hmm.
To take them time to come from Gaza to where I live, but in Lod, they also have weapons and they can decide that we're the next place to
Yeah.
attack. If everybody joins together, it then gets more complicated because we don't know if they're coming from south or from east or from north or from Jaffa. And I always have my bag ready for Miluim, so that's like, okay, that's there. I just need to pick it up, put it on the car. But I understood from those videos, like I was watching them in order to understand what on the layer that I'm expert in exists or was destroyed. Because if you think about it, and the sky is full of drones and helicopters, UAVs, as we imagine, so then all the area is controlled. They're eye in the sky, looking over. Few hours and they'll manage it. And then I remember I saw a video, and I think it was in Be'eri, and I realized, okay, that doesn't look like something that in few hours could be manageable, because it's already like a mix of civilians with terrorists and soldiers, and it's all in one territory. In the videos, I see places that I've been like few months back in Miluim. So like people running from the party in places that I would launch a drone from.
Oh yeah, give it okay.
And then I'm like really feeling that I wasn't in that same point where people are running, and it just threw me back to the Holocaust. People running on their lives in an open field. And I knew that I had to go down south. I mean, that was my soul and body disconnection. I said, okay, I might hear things, I might see things, but that's what my body needs to do right now.
Yeah.
Pack my stuff, go down south. 2 a.m. I was already there. And that what brings me to like, when did you start moving into the operational side of yours?
I mean, the operation started with looking for David, right?
So
and that was...
The 4 friends went down south, and then you realized, okay, I'm not going to join them from Tel Aviv.
I didn't, I'd call later that night. They were already back. They were going to do a search party tomorrow morning.
Okay.
They told me to come to... They said someone else is needing equipment. We've been buying it, on Bucky's credit card. We need you to pick up some equipment, drive it to a soldier. Sure, man. I've been doing... My car's been packed with soldiers all morning, like all night. I'm cool with it. Like, drove to Jerusalem, drove up north, dropping random people off, Said, sure. On the way to pick up the stuff, they go, dude, we need you in Jerusalem. We need help. Like, we'll explain. So I didn't really tell my wife. My wife was just, I would check in with her periodically. She was at home. She had no Miluim order. She was taking care of her sister. Otherwise, she would just have gone before me. And so I drove to Jerusalem, and I met them, and I saw what was going on. I kind of got the update very quickly. David's dead, trying to find his body. Friends need equipment. We're starting to order it. We need it managed. I just walked in, I watched, I listened. I had 3 friends on the phones doing a billion things. Just watched and listened, put it on my computer. Thank God I'd taken it with me. And made a spreadsheet, organized them into tasks via the columns, made complete organization of the chaos in that moment. Just gave everyone their role and organized them, sort of project managed, but with nothing really else, and just jumped into the mix, helping solving each individual small problem. That's how I started, which I haven't even thought about in ages. But yeah, like everyone was already doing something. My job was just to close the gaps and then make the system work. And
That's sometimes the most important individual in
listen.
an organization.
uh, um, it allows everything, I think, hopefully, to work together, right? That's the idea. That's my job, make everything work together. And then you also build out new systems, and so they did that. And then again, we hadn't found David that full day. We have teams doing both. We had about friends coming over, and we were all terrified. We all had very extreme trauma in that house, and we all slept there. And then we, at some point, someone had sent a photo of a pile of bodies, and one of them was David's, and we could tell by the shirt that he had borrowed from Bucky to go to the festival. He also borrowed Bucky's car to the festival, so, and also the shoes we identified him by, and then I think we broke down for a minute, 2 minutes, got right back up, kept, going. And then his family started organizing the funeral. And we were just getting more and more requests. And so I called my mom. I said, look, we're fully at war. My friend David is dead. I've got tons of equipment that needs to come in. I'm going to organize a plane from El Al. I need you to empty out the garage and just send this text that I share you with everything to the community. It'll explain everything. And so I did that. I sent that text. Me and Bucky organized the plane from, my Air Force connection is actually my landlord. Funny enough, Air Force folks always go way, way back, and they're very tight. My landlord, he worked at El Al Cargo. So I said, hey, man, no questions asked. This is what I'm doing. I need the head of El Al Cargo. I need somebody. A few conversations later, we're up the ranks.
So that's to bring equipment for soldiers,
That's to bring
or
the
it's not
equipment.
yet for soldiers?
That was for soldiers. That first
Okay.
shipment went to Duvdevan. I think it went to some Golani guys, and I know it went to some of it went to Shayetet. And then and it was a crazy story. I mean, we don't have time for it now, but an insane story about how we even got that first plane. It landed 15 minutes before David's funeral. We had friends of our group. My friends were saying, okay, if we need to go on, we didn't know how planes work and cargo and imports and exports and check-ins, whatever. He said, if someone needs to go during the funeral to the airport ASAP, me and Ike will go. And that was the thought process. And then we hugged for about probably the longest, 5 minutes. Bawled our eyes out. Again, soaked it up. Went to the funeral. Buried David. And went to the airport and managed our next plane.
And did you feel like that's a point that you had to process, respect, be there for David, and from that moment, it just, they talk about it in post-trauma. So you have PTG, which is post-trauma growth.
Really? Never heard of this.
You multiply your capabilities after
I think so.
a certain event.
Yeah.
You just
stuck with it.
Start moving, and you got the answers for all the things that you were not able to solve before that.
100%. And so 100% that. And we did that at his funeral. I mean, I remember everything. I was there. My mind wasn't elsewhere. And then it's over, and we literally got back to the car. And Bucky and we just, I think, grabbed one another and said, all right, let's do the next one. And then we just went back. For the next, I think, 2 weeks, we slept in our friend's apartment, all of us in Jerusalem. My wife went down south. I visited her while she was on the border very quickly, because I didn't know what was going to happen, but I knew we were going to go to war. And so I was like, I don't know what's going to happen with her, and this is chaotic. I just got to go see her. Drove back. Thank God things were fine. And then for the next 6 months, we were in war. We were doing logistics. We had warehouses. We had partners that were donating millions of dollars of aid to soldiers, and then also to displaced communities, to the police. We brought in 3 armored ambulances for the police with some great partners. Wow. And then what we did was we thought about, okay, how best can we give this stuff away? Soldiers, for sure, let's try and do it with some food. And when we went and gave stuff to the displaced families in the communities, who not just displaced, but obviously bereaved as well. Yeah. We didn't just want to give them, hey, here's a whole new wardrobe. hey, here's a whole new series of things for your house, which, by the way, they were displaced. So we had to figure out how to store that stuff for them. We turned it into a carnival day. And we made sure, with some guidance from some social workers, that we threw a carnival for the kids. So it was twofold. The parents got a little bit of break, right? Because there were no activities. There's no after-school activities when you've just been moved to a hotel in the middle of nowhere, right?
So it was in Eilat, or?
We did it all over the country.
Okay.
North to south, we did probably a dozen events. And we gave away equipment, we gave away clothing, and we threw together this event just to kind of lift the spirits a little bit. And the most important thing was that we were doing it months in, right? The first month, everybody was here. We did on Stotiam by Caesarea, an event for 3 communities that had just been stuck there and working super hard to make it work. And afterwards, I always ask for feedback. I say, how'd we do? What would you guys have liked better? And that's how the events kept getting better. And some woman said, I really don't know. All you did was you gave me time to think, to relax, to appreciate, and you showed up when no one else has in a few months. Meaning, she said, everyone showed up the first month. No one's seen us in 3 months. And to me, and this goes back to the culture, showing up matters a lot. You know what? I can even tell you in that event, the carnival guys, they had a flat tire on the road. They didn't show up till about half hour before we closed. So the kids didn't get 3 hours of carnival even. But we played Frisbee, we played soccer. We ran an after-school activity basically for 4 hours for these families. And they didn't care if the guys were doing blow-ups and they were Spider-Man or if we were playing soccer on the field.
Yeah, it's just to act.
Just to show up, act. Yeah. Little things. Every day you get to wake up and do a little, we call it a mitzvah. A little thing. Just a little mitzvah. Go make the world a little bit better. The world will be great if you just do that. Try your best today. Sometimes...
Yeah, you do the action. The other side is going to...
let it ripple, yeah.
Enjoy it, learn from it, whatever would happen on the other side.
Yeah.
That's the mitzvah.
Exactly. Just do mitzvahs, right? And then you show up and you think, okay, what do we do today? Well, we got there. We could speed run this a little bit, but what started as searching for David that turned into a logistics operation where we did 221 tons of equipment, where we are doing these events, turned into, okay, let's open a healing center in Thailand. Because when I spoke to Noam and I wanted to understand what it was like in her community, in recovery, and what was missing, and this was the most logical way to solve some major problem, which was young Israelis going to Thailand post-PTSD development into an environment of chaos, drugs, and, and we identified the acute situations. We built a team there. We've been operating for over a year. We've got over 1,000 people coming for at least 2 sessions. Phenomenal. We've had people that, 45 or so case studies that truly matter. That, also led
Why
into...
did you choose Thailand? I think I missed that one.
India had a great team. India had a great team that was already there. Hamakom. Anybody who's traveling should just go visit. They're great people. Khezi and Tamar. And Thailand, we spoke to the police. We spoke to the local authorities. We spoke to the Chabad. And nobody was there. And 350,000 Israelis were expected to show up. Assuming that most of them are between the ages of 22 and 31, which is basically our main demographic. I think it's over 70% for sure. Yeah, maybe even, way higher. There was nothing. There was Panama, I think with Dr. Leah Naor. And
Playa Venal.
I'm forgetting the name of her facility.
No, the area in Panama, I think, is called Playa Venal. That's where they do some retreats.
Possibly. So she does phenomenal work. The sector was budding with a ton of new initiatives. But we found that the retreats, the weeks that I've even gone on them with my wife, and I've had friends go on them, they don't last. It's not close enough to actual proper, tipul, right, or actual work. But when you get to work with people over time, we would be able to hand off someone to the Ministry of Defense's rehabilitation department, right? So we know there's proper continuous support. We've actually had just now, for instance, a few people come from Israel and their representatives from the Ministry of Defense reached out to us and said, hey, we need help tracking these folks during there. We work with your team, and now our social workers and our staff are prepared for these folks, able to keep an eye on people. We had some very special, I mean, I won't name names, obviously, because everyone needs their privacy.
For sure.
But some very special people come, share their story, share their stories. And what it became was not really us doing anything, but us funding the proper and natural development of both what the social workers and the psychologists were seeing, but also of the survivors and the miluimnikim, the reservists. The natural young people were taking their own hands to rehabilitate themselves. We weren't giving them anything. We weren't forcing them to do anything. They would make the food. They would put together the artwork. They would lead the workshops. They would lead the classes. They would lean on one another and create a bridge for one another in order to get proper support.
It became like a community, community that handles itself.
Yeah.
And you guys are making sure that it continues for more time, more rounds, adding more value.
Yeah. Our job is to continue to build the infrastructure. It's the donors' jobs, really. I mean, it's their job to keep it open, right? That's at the end of the day, I'm a facilitator. I'm a pass-through. My job is to raise money and keep it sitting on the sidelines. My job is to deploy it intelligently for the best use of the people. And right now, economically speaking, you know, people can show up and get proper support in a very chaotic environment. We also go to we build safe zones at all these festivals. So what was a big problem that we picked up on the fly was, you know, you go to Kopangan, there's a bunch of these festivals and there's fireworks, and you're up at 4 a.m. and you haven't slept in 2 days because you're partying and you got a lot of energy, and God, because when you go to sleep, it's hard. Fireworks go off. Immediate triggers.
Yeah.
And so before we built safe zones, we were chasing people around parties. We're getting calls in the middle of the night. So we started building safe zones with teams, right? And then the whole island, the whole community in the island, which is full of Israelis, and the whole region has been so warm and helping. Like they built this together. There are a lot of our staff. There are a lot of the hosts around the island, the people who kind of keep an eye on things, and you can always, as an Israeli, find them and know who they are if you've come to the Ma'agal. If you've come to the circle, you start knowing who's on the island, who's who, and getting to really be part of a community. So we've done that. And
when I count in how many countries have I been, so that's how I measure it. If you already know in a village who's who, you know, you start getting into the rumors of the locals. You say, okay, I can say I've been in that place, or they already recognize me because of the pink helmet, because I'm the only guy wearing helmet in that area. So
that's the guy who wears the pink helmet. Yeah, exactly.
That's how they were described.
That's how they know. Shy, the pink helmet guy. Don't look him in the eyes. He doesn't love it.
And wow, that's I didn't know about all that story in relation to the rehabilitation and the activity that you were doing in Thailand, actually. So let's do something evolved into that direction. And then in what point did you understand that you want to focus on Miluimnikim, defense?
Always. So at David's funeral, I wrote, okay, here's the things I'm going to go out and ask questions about and evaluate. And then these are the companies I think I'm going to build, or these are the products. This is the core technology that I think matters. You know, just from early speaking, because a lot of friends showed up fighting from the battlefield to the funeral, spoke for 10 minutes, and then went back to the battlefield. So I got some information, and, you know, I said, okay, well, this is not doable, and obviously not for right now. And then there's a question of, you know, should I be the one building these companies, or should I be the one enabling these companies and backing them? So I thought about building a VC nonprofit vehicle where we could take a little bit less returns because we want to see that the product gets to the soldier, not that the returns are exponential.
But there was like a moment or a feeling that you had that you said, I got to focus my energy on that. You can remember like
we'd always
a certain
been.
moment you felt that there was not enough technology to help David survive.
That for sure. That's
where it ignited. Like you said, there's no way something like that could happen again. I need to do something. It would be by developing solutions.
100%.
No parties anymore. That there's a layer of security.
No. You know what? I felt that at Aeronautics, a lot of the people. Aeronautics is broken up into 2 floors. Top floor is engineers. Bottom floor is factory, technicians, maintenance, all that stuff. Intelligent people throughout all 4 walls. I felt that there were so many intelligent people on the first floor that I worked with that I found brilliant that weren't doing anything about what they thought. And these are the operators, these are the flight ops, the software development team, right? And I just wondered always if we could kind of unleash them, what would we build? And then October 7th happened, and I thought about David. I said, wow, we could have done something. There's definitely something, because with all this tech, an order still went wrong. But the first thing I felt was when we started getting requests from units. In the initials of a logistic, right? Your army's only as good as the logistics, right? Can you get food to your soldiers? Can you keep them warm? Do they have bullets? Right? It's very straightforward. I knew that was not going to move as fast if civilians didn't get involved, and obviously that happened immediately. But then I thought about, okay, all my friends have always complained about this equipment stuff. We're fighting in 2023. What's the chances we're super well upgraded? And that really started proving itself when, I won't name units, but units came to us and asked for equipment. And I said, okay, go buy it. And they said, no, we know it exists. We just can't buy it. And then I started understanding it's not an innovation problem. And it's not a lack of desire on the user. There's just a long chain of command and a lot of paperwork that has to get approved, sat before somebody, and has to have a long checklist that all checks green and checks out before we get that piece of tech. If I buy that piece of tech and I give it to the organization representing this unit, and they test it, and the unit takes it in and goes through the proper process of getting it, it'll be done immediately, relatively. So we did one test run, spent a few $1,000s on some equipment, worked. We did another, worked. And then the unit came back and said, hey, we love that thing, but we actually been looking for more things that we need, we can't find, but we think we can build. Dude, great. Well, why are we building it? What are the specs? How is this going to impact you in the field? These
as much as they can
questions,
tell you, but
fully telling. I mean, listen, again, some of it was just dumb. Some of it was just hardware that was really dumb hardware. I need a better table. And I know that sounds dumb, but like when you go see what they're needing and what they're replacing, you're like, oh my God, right? And it's only because you're in such a moment, again, of dire need and very operational, like detailed order that you go, yeah, this makes sense. It makes a ton of sense. And so back to the States versus other places, if you're not under a security threat, you don't think about these things, because why would you? You would invest in other things, right? So, here we are. We need to, and everything counts. Every second
think you're
counts.
still in that operational mindset? Or
Yeah. No, yeah.
you had a break and some soul came in as well.
Soul has come in, but you know what? Truthfully, like, I balance them. Like, I can have, my brothers were here last week. My mother-in-law was here 2 weeks ago. A lot of my soul is restored by being with them, by spending time, focusing, giving my energy, giving my attention. But I'm here, I'm operational, right? I've got a meeting, we've got 15, 20 more minutes. I've got a meeting from then on.
Day moves on.
Day moves on.
Next unit,
next thing.
Next product.
I'm with you.
Next startup.
I'm here. That's it. Everything needs to be solved, right?
So right now, you realize that the units had some needs. You started providing. You've learned you could build a model that would actually operate and bring opportunities on one hand for people that have probably been dealing with challenges and created solutions.
Mm-hmm.
And on the other hand, are you looking for, you have some ideas and you're looking for teams that would bring them into life, or?
So now we started by saying, okay, let's work with the builders and the users, right? Someone who can just build it, someone who can use it, make sure that we got the product down. That's what this is all from our experience, the last few years.
What didn't exist?
But what didn't
we were talking about the logistics. I understand you explained it perfectly, actually. Like, units have stuff, but they need something very specific in order to be able to do an activity that is very specific. And in the Army, it takes too much time in order to get to that point. You solve that one. And then what was that elevation to what you're doing today that you've realized, okay, that's how I'm going to move it forward. That's how I'm going to revive it, because there are accelerators, hubs. Mafat is giving some credit for people to develop stuff. In the previous episode, Itai that was interviewed was talking about the army coming up to him and say, "Yeah, build a company that
Yeah.
would solve this type of thing."
Well, okay, so if you look at the scale of things, there's some great programs across the board, just horizontally, right? From your tech, you're managing basically TRL at the end of the day for the user. Okay, the care does this product work in the environment and the way it's supposed to. Through that, there are accelerators and programs. We love them. We love Innovet, Starburst, Innofence, Innotal. Everyone's got Inno in their names. And there's great people along the way, right? But there's a gap. You can go to a program and you can have a great idea and you can have a strategy and you could put a team together. You can go to a program with a product like Innotal, and they'll take and implement it. There's a gap between those two, though. From idea to your first iteration is one step. From first iteration to final first product is another step. From final first product to scrapping everything and getting to your first real 2.01 product that you're going to launch and test with and learn a ton more about. That's another stage. And each team is different. Each product is different. Each technology is different. Some things move in like that, 3-month cycles, 4-month cycles. Some things move in 8-month cycles. And it's very hard to find the right program that is structured for each person and for each team. If you're a for-profit business, you have to bet on good teams that are perfect for you at the right time to work with. If you're a not-for-profit...
And it's a bet.
It's a bet. Everyone's making bets. However, you are still, when you're government or an NGO, you still have some freedom, some flexibility on your timeline, and on your risk-taking, which is, to me, a belief scale. You've seen some of the startups that come in. These are, at the very least, very capable, very incredible people, hopefully with technical capability, entrepreneurial capability, and then we can mold them from there. And hopefully they have a good idea. A good idea is probably, they're maybe 60% of the way to a good idea when they start, right? But it's got to grow, and that's when you really start climbing uphill sometimes. And you have to think these things through, and you have to build them, and you have to test them, and you have to understand it. And so we take those folks kind of at that big chasm, and we're just trying to help as many of them cross it. To me, I've got a big, big belief meter in a lot of these folks that come in, and I go, if I sit you down for 3 months, what are you going to accomplish? And how impactful and meaningful is that? Who's going to care about that? And what do we do next? And if they accomplish that, all that will happen, right? And our ability to work completely apolitically, speak freely with the people in Mafat is amazing. They're amazing. Our relationship with them is amazing. The people in the other offices, the other security teams, it's just easy to talk to them when we just don't have any interest other than them getting what they need. When we're honest with the VCs and the investors and say, hey, man, we want you guys to make money. We really appreciate the fact that you have capital markets that you're creating and setting up here. This is awesome. What can we do to help? And we work with some of them like Fresh Defense at Protego. We get to really help them move the needle on these teams, whether they've invested in them or not. They might be interested in them. And they might say to me, hey, man, I love these guys. Please, what can we do to get them to this point? Because then I'm investing. That's my job, right? And the incentive on that for me is that we can solve the problem. We can start solving the problem so that the Davids of the world can hopefully not happen again, right? Those stories. We did a 2-kilometer long exhibit on the Tayelet, on the boardwalk of Tel Aviv, with a chair, a photo, and a candle and a rose for each soldier, just soldier, killed fighting for our country during this war. I think we're at 931 that day. Those are all problems that have to be solved. Every single one of those. And that's not everything. And so there are little things, there are big things in this world that need to be solved. They're all going to pretty much take time. They're hard, and they're in hardware usually. The margins aren't as good as everywhere else on the AI and the SaaS. But I think, and this is the craziest thing, you'll be fine. If you make a good product and you have good leadership, you'll either get paid to build or you'll sell an incredible amount and do something great. But most importantly, you'll have purpose in your life. You'll have a ton of, we call it in Hebrew, barak ba'anayim,
Yeah.
lightning behind the eyes. And I think that's pretty cool. See people in this industry, man. They love it.
Yeah, I think it's you're touching an interesting point, like the excitement that people have to do something that will save lives is, I mean, I just came back from New York City, and every time I'm there, I'm asking myself, why don't they have that same platform like we do in relation to like first responders? Here you have motorcycles and like small electric cars that would get there faster than an ambulance.
Yeah.
Then when the ambulance arrives, there was someone there like already for 5 minutes that probably have saved that person's life.
For sure.
Or have made sure that they would not stay in a wheelchair for their whole life.
Yeah.
And that's all. We started from that experience growing up, checking and scanning the buses. And then on the other edge of it, it's how on my entrepreneurial side of things, I'm taking it and I'm saying, okay, I'm going to be the one that is changing the way that an ambulance operates. I'm going to be the one that is changing the way that the program for people to manage who's in their party will change. And I think those are exciting ideas, and you have the opportunity and the privilege to meet those people and define how their journey will look like in order for them to be the world changers.
Privilege is a very true word there. Yeah.
That's I think you've got the trust from you talked about donors, so you were saying donors, but at the same time it's probably also the VCs and family offices that trust you when you're presenting to them companies that are of course for profit.
Yeah. I mean, it's their business, right? And so I have to make sure that teams are properly prepared, right? That everyone's aligned, that this isn't a waste of anyone's time, that it should make as much sense as possible for this meeting to have happened between anybody, right? I don't need to waste anybody's time. And I think that the biggest thing I notice is when startups take a second and they work, and Tomer Nisimian said this really well from Intact, just be tzanua. Be a little bit poised, work properly, get your stuff done, do what you need to do, especially during that early stage when you're just figuring it out, right? And, first of all, some people may have seen bad examples of what an entrepreneur is, not know what it is yet, right? First-time founders, and you need to kind of coach them up. You need to help them enter the game, and you kind of become like a university in a sense in that space. But you get to work with some really interesting people.
So it's to first of all bring that knowledge and the tools, physical tools, in one place that those people could advance faster, right? That's what you're offering right now.
Yeah.
You talked about the field later. So how is it evolving? Like, what's the V2 of the SandBox?
So what we started was, okay, let's build a lab. Let's give people a team. Let's help them solve their problems on the product side of things. What I realized very quickly was you should probably spend a little less time working on your product in the early stage, more time testing it in the field, giving it to users, get feedback. Obviously, you have to make it workable, but you have to get MVP. And then MVP 1, MVP 2, MVP 3. So helping teams build out that structure of how they're going to build and test as cheap as possible. Again, mostly using our machines and our parts, so it saves them costs and everything. They don't have to raise any money to start building with us, right? That there's just no reason to.
I think that's the biggest change you brought. Like
For sure.
in incubator, people would get 50K until they understand what to waste those 50K
Yeah,
on.
exactly. They buy the wrong machines. Oh my god, I tested 10 different colors of purple plastic and they're all wrong. You know, something like that. Oh my god, I bought all the chips and turns out that a new chip came out, it's significantly cheaper and now I don't need this and now I'm screwed. Right? To me, that testing era where things are pretty dirty is why I call it the sandbox, right? It's all good. Try it. I'll level it afterwards. It's all good. We can mix and mold and match however we like.
And
like
people come in all the time. So something that was not relevant for you, I could
give it to you.
someone
Hey, you
else.
borrowed this drone and wasn't relevant for you. You take this drone, it's more relevant for you. If we're missing a machine, we'll order a machine. If not us, we have partners, incredible partners that have like all these, all this desire to help, right, with all their facilities and all their people. You know, it's awesome. You just get to come build, right? But the most important thing is that you've kind of built out your strategy, your value proposition, right? So teams do really need to A, become builders, but B, become entrepreneurs. And so we've the version 2.0 of the program is, okay, now that we can help you build, we know that we've done that with a few startups. How can we actually help you go to market? How can we help you when it comes to your customers? How can we get that first customer for you, right? And then what is the immediate knock-on effect, like we said, right, of if this first customer signs with you? Well, we've got all these for you right here. And you'll go to other countries. Hopefully within 1 year, a team can come in, they can develop their product, test it, sell, and go to another market. That's my ideal, right? It's crazy, but I think it's starting to get done. You've seen some people out of the garage do it, right? I think it's really incredible what's going on, especially in the AI and software space for sure. Right. But you're seeing it a lot with the hardware as well. We're open to all people that are building incredible things. And some entrepreneurs, I think this goes to the point, don't need us. It's totally fine. If you're good enough to do this on your own, all good. If you want help, happily, right? Yep. But that's the essence of the sandbox in 2026, and being able to build out more proper pipelines for hopefully the younger generation. I want to be able to start seeing 23 and 24-year-olds start to build their first venture out. So we're building out pipeline channels, hopefully with some of the government partners you'll see this year. So that means that if you don't know how to do it yet, and you really want to work closely with them, but you don't want to be, kind of under their umbrella too much. You want to keep this, we'll become this little neutral zone, right? Then you can do that with
the
us.
softer area than working with government. Or
exactly. If you want to go meet with Mafat, you won't have to go to the Kiryat, come to the sandbox. You guys could sit. We're happy to mediate. We're happy to lead on these teams. And we've started to see a little bit of some of the pilot stuff kind of work already. So hopefully we'll roll out a full program a little later this year, and then we'll see.
Super exciting, and I'm sure there are many people in young ages here in Israel that come up with all different kind of ideas. I mean, when I got to start a podcast, I was thinking, okay, there are so many people here that have ideas, but they're on that edge of, am I going to do it, or am I going to work for someone? A big company that will maybe pay me for sure, and then I will think what I'm going to study, and it always comes up that same question that I'm telling myself, like, if I was now 23, finishing my military service, would it be going for entrepreneurship? Because it's clear that now the industry is booming, and you can see in the States entrepreneurs that are 19 to 23 that left MIT or Harvard because they realize, okay, now it's time.
Yeah,
I don't have those 3 years to study and then think what would be the solution for
sure
the next thing. Now it's time. Of course, those guys are genius and they have their background, but you need to believe that you're the genius that is going to solve that thing. To have a very strong passion for that one thing that you want to solve. And I think that we have now a generation of these guys.
Oh yeah.
We were talking about the generation of TikTok, and that's how they were called, all these kids that have been in war now for 2 years. Probably the way that we'd see them on TikTok is because the guy that interviews successful entrepreneurs would ask them, how did you make so much money and you're just 28? And they would say, I was living an experience, I decided to invest my time into it, and here it is. That's the company that I built.
Yeah, I think it's going to be incredible what these folks build, and also it'll be meaningful. I think a lot of people will build meaningful products, things that they could take pride in again, right? I think if we start taking pride in what we do, building for others, building with purpose, building with story, that TikTok generation has become very, very successful very, very soon, in a variety of ways, not just in wealth. I think they're going to grow up to be just fine. I think over the course of the next few years, there's still a lot of chaos. There's still a lot of patience that's needed with one another. And I think that we have to create environments for kind of these conversations. Recognition, eye level, with snoot, right? With some poise.
Yeah.
But at the same time, let's unleash these people to do hard things. Just do hard things and let's back them.
Is there any like challenge, hackathon that you're planning soon that we can call out to those young individuals to come up with ideas?
So with this university program, we'll launch the challenges with the partners. In general, so we have some great partners in the space arena. Highly recommend going up to Space Week. I think it's happening Tuesday, Wednesday, I believe this week. But maybe people will miss it by the time this is out. But definitely Rakia is phenomenal in the space, and they're always putting stuff out. Mafat is putting stuff out, and we work with all of them. So if anybody needs to go through those with kind of some support, we're there. Yeah, that's pretty much it for now.
Well, thank you, Ike, for coming here and having this conversation with me.
Thanks for having me, man. It's a pleasure.